Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. Today we're going to do the top 5 cards from each color from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. And this set is really powerful actually. I'm super surprised by the power level of this set. It's definitely going to pack standard, which we'll be talking about because this set technically has things like Thought Seize and Mana Drain that aren't in standard, but you can play it in other formats they're legal in. I'll be covering over just the standard cards and how they impact standard. So let's go ahead and start off. Coming number 5 for white is going to be Claim Jumper. So Claim Jumper is a 3-mana 3/3. When ETBs, if your opponent has more lands than you, you get a Plains card, put and play tapped, and then you do it again if they have more lands than you still. It's kind of cool because you get to, it's kind of like neither White Orchid, but you get 2 lands, and the Plains can be triomes or duels or whatever you want, as long as they have the Plains subtype or typing. So this is great for against teamer decks in standard that are ramping. I think it's a awesome sideboard card. Even in control decks, like ramping twice is sweet, or domain. I like it. Cool card. Super cool card. Coming in at number 4 is going to be the Collector's Vault. So the Collector's Cage. The 2-mana artifact has Hideaway 5. And then you put a counter on a creature you control. And then you control 3 creatures with different power. You can play this spell for free. This is a very cheap hideaway effect. And also puts counters, which I think is great in like a green-white counter deck with Botanical Brawler or just ways to double counters. And even later we'll see some green cards that care about counters. So I am thinking this card is gonna be sweet in those decks. All right. Then coming up next we have number 3 is Final Showdown. Final Showdown is a spree, which means when you cast it, you can choose any number of modes. And basically for 6 mana, you can destroy all creatures. For 7 mana, you can destroy them all and make them lose all their abilities. And also you can keep your creatures indestructible as well, so they don't die to the showdown. This card is pretty sweet. You probably might see plays one of in control decks and maybe more once Sunfall rotates. But the problem at the moment is Sunfall is just too good. Very well, it's very powerful. So if you're gonna make 6 mana, you usually want to hit everything. That being said, Final Showdown does hit lands where Sunfall and Farewell do not, right? And also removes abilities, which is relevant, but exiling creatures is usually removing their abilities as well. So it's not too crazy. Coming number 2 is going to be Aven Interrupter. So 3-mana 2/2 flash flying. When it ETBs, you exile target spell, and it becomes plotted. So your opponent has to cast it on a future turn. Spells your opponent casts from graveyards or exile cost 2 more to cast. This is kind of like an elite spellbinder for spells stack. Your opponent has to cast it first, and you can exile it, you get a creature. It's a pretty big tempo swing. Also, if you exile a card like a counter spell with an interrupter, your opponent can't cast it again because plots can only be cast during only cast a sorcery speed. So if you counter spell with this, it's just dead. So it seems pretty good. Excellent flash creature. Keep tempo up and protects your creatures. It's like a different spellbinder, a different elite spellbinder. Also, hitting it off Coco can be obviously pretty great as well. Coco being quite a company. Coming at number 1 is a card that will be used, I believe, a lot in Boros Convoke. It's Nurturing Pixie. 1 mana, 1/1 flying. When it comes to play, you can bounce a non-fairy or non-permanent to its hand. If you do, it becomes a 2/2. This is great in Convoke, bouncing your inspectors, bouncing your recruiters, or bouncing your Convoke creatures that tutor, like that little top discard your library and grab 2. The cost here isn't that big, and sometimes it'll just accrue card advantage. So the drawback isn't a total drawback in that deck. And it's uncommon, and this is where I see this card seeing play. It's also evasive, which is great for that deck, allowing it to attack in the air. Very solid card for that style of deck. So pretty good white cards overall. Next up, we're gonna go over the blue cards from the set. Coming at number 5 is gonna be Esoteric Duplicator. 3-mana artifact. It's a clue. It says when you sacrifice the duplicator or another artifact, you need to pay 2 mana. If you do, at the beginning of the next end step, create a token that's a copy of it. And for itself, you can sacrifice it for 2 to draw a card. So basically, you can just keep drawing cards, copying it over and over again, which is pretty sweet. But on top of that, if you sacrifice a different artifact, you can copy that artifact as well. This card seems honestly pretty powerful. Obviously, the artifact comes back EOT, so you can't just like crack it a bunch of times. But keeping like doing it every end step or every other end step, you have mana is pretty sweet. And on top of that, again, it works really well with other artifacts too, like copying other artifacts that we'll look at here in a little bit. Card number 4 is Duelist of the Mind. This is Nathan Stewart's World Champion card. So 2 mana, 1/3 flying, vigilance. Duelist of the Mind's power is equal to the number of cards you've drawn this turn. Right. This is going to work very well with Prof's enchantment that gives a creature +X counters where there's no card you've drawn. It says whenever you commit a crime, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This really triggers only once each turn. So kind of like reminds me a little bit of Legislator, just being able to loot back and forth on your opponent's turn. It's great on offense, go on defense, only 2 mana. This card seems pretty sweet and actually pretty powerful. I like how all the world champions always make mostly a blue creature. I don't think we've seen a green one in a while, right? We've seen white, we've seen red, we've seen blue. Yeah. No one likes green, huh? We need a green world champion. All right, coming number 3 is Simulacrum Synthesizer. 3 mana artifact. 1 ATBs, you scry 2. And then it says another artifact with mana value 3 or greater in the battlefield, make a construct, essentially. This seems great in the blue-white artifact deck in Standard that just plays a bunch of artifacts as removal and ramping. You can easily swarm the board with artifacts. This seems just fantastic there. It's like, it's very, the creatures will go very, very big, very fast. And on top of that, you're very resistant to board wipes. Outside of Farewell, of course, but everything else you don't really care because you can rebuild very fast. I think this is going to push the blue artifact deck in Standard to be much better. So excited for that one. Coming number 2 is 3 Steps Ahead. This is one of the best. Not some of the best. One of the better 3-mana counter spells we've seen in Standard. Obviously normalizes 2 mana, but cancel with upside, which is what we've seen 3 mana for a while. However, this one you can pay more to like loot, to draw 2 cards, discard a card. You can pay more if you want to create tokens, a copy of target artifact or creature control. So late game you can just like kind of just go off with it. You win condition 2. And if your opponent doesn't do nothing, you can just pay 3 mana to draw 2, discard a card, which isn't great, obviously, but once you're able to pay like 5 mana to counter a spell, draw 2, discard 2, it's just that's great. It's like dismiss for 5 mana, but you get to see 2 cards. So coming number 1, I don't think people are surprised. It's gonna be Jace Reawakened. Jace has been pretending to be Ashiok, which is why his art is kind of like Ashiok, a little weird. But Jace has the Sarah Avenger text, which says you can't play him during your first, second, or third turns of the game. So you have to play turn 4 unless you can cheat him out with like, you know, Leyline of Anticipation or something. But his +1 is draw a card and discard a card, which is not too exciting, but it's fine. Seems great in the Dimir reenact the crime deck. His other +1 is you may exile a non card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. If you do, it becomes plotted. So you can exile other planeswalkers or whatever have you for a future turn where you can just double spell, which I think is fantastic. I think being able to plot a future spell is great. It just sets up for a massive turn, especially being able to plot cards that don't have plot on them. I think that's huge. And obviously, if you plot something, if you plot something like Bramble Familiar, you can cast the fetch quest for 0, right? So 7 mana spell for 0 mana instead of 7 mana. If you exile something like Valky, you can cast the Tibble half, right? As well, so for free. Pretty powerful. Then his ultimate is in return, whenever you cast a spell, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. It's also important to note that Jace does not care if you're casting a creature spell or instant or planeswalker or whatever. This turn, you'll get copies of everything. Everything's a copy. A super cool card. I'm excited to play with it more. I already have a few decks up with it. You can see on Cool Stuff, I believe, but it's a nice card. Huge fan of it. All right. Coming up next is going to be the black cards. Coming at number 5, it's your old friend, Tiny Bones Pickpocket. Originally, I don't think this card was that great, but after playing it with a little bit, it's fine. It's a 1/1 death touch, so great at blocking and great at offense. But usually, a death touch 1/1 at offense isn't whatever. You just block it right. But you don't block it. You just take 1, right? But Tiny Bones is a huge payoff if you hit the opponent. You can start like casting their spells. You still have to pay for it, so it's not like broken. Play fair card, but once the game starts getting going, and Tiny Bones is hitting the opponent, your opponent is not going to want them to get hit by this. So this card's sweet. I like it. Not crazy, but it is a fun card and works really well. Coming at number 4 is going to be Karvek the Punisher. 3 mana, 3/3. So whenever you commit a crime, so like basically targeting your opponent or anything they control, or cards in the graveyard, etc. If you do, you may pay 2 life and cast a black card from your graveyard. So pay the mana cost. That's fine. Not a big deal. This is kind of like a weird black Snapcaster Mage in a way, but that's recurring. And what's cool is that so Tiny Bones and this card, the crime can be the hard thing to trigger. Our next card will trigger Karvek's crime right away. So Tiny Bones joins up is the number 3 card. This card looks kind of bad, and normally it would be bad, but it triggers crime constantly. So like when we first play it, target player discards a card. Whatever. That's not great. We've seen like for 1 mana, and not be able to pick the card. It's not that great. However, whenever you play legendary creature, you will commit a crime because you will mill the opponent and they'll lose 1 life. So you have burn aspect now, and you get to mill them, and you commit crimes, which works great with Karvek and other creatures that care about crimes. So, which I think really makes this card shine up a little more. Where normally this card would not be great. Number 2 is going to be Harvester of Misery. So for 5 mana, you get 5/4 menace. When it comes to play, it gives all other creatures -2/2 on a turn. So like infest the board. But what's cool about this card is you can also just pay 2 mana, discard it to give a creature -2/2. So this is kind of like a weird Massacre Girl. Massacre Girl can keep scaling, but Massacre Girl also can be discarded for 2 mana. I think this is great, especially against like Boros Convoke. Early, you can kill like the Skyguard Legionnaire. Obviously, it won't wipe the whole board. 5 mana is a lot, and it doesn't go massive, but it is a sweet card to have. Having the option of like a 2 mana removal spell early, or a board wipe against smaller decks is nice. Solid sideboard card at the very least. Card number 1 is going to be Forsaken Miner. It's just a 0 mana. 1 mana 2/2. They can't block. Whenever you commit a crime again, and there's a lot of ways to commit crimes in this set. You can pay 1 black. If you do, return from graveyard to the battlefield. There's also Skeleton, which is relevant because there's enchantment from the last set that gives all skeletons like haste and +1/+0. If you descend, you can get back to your hand. I think that card is going to be massive. And then it's also a rogue, so it's also an outlaw, which obviously matters in the set as well. So this card is going to be my number one pick. It's aggressive, it recurs, and it's just a solid card overall, honestly. All right. Moving on next, going to be our red cards. So for red, for number 5, we're going to look at Legion Extruder, 2 mana artifact. It says when it comes into play, it deals 2 damage to anything. Sure, not great. It's like shock for 1 mana, but it's fine. Hit face, creature, planeswalker, whatever. It's fine. But the other abilities what I like, which is you can pay 2 mana, sacrifice another artifact, make a 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token, right? So you're able to at this point just sacrifice treasures, sacrifice blood tokens. If you're playing the blue artifact that says when you sacrifice artifact, you can pay 2 mana to clone it. EOT we talked about earlier, the clue. This works well in that deck. So I think you can play a great like Is It artifact deck or a Jeskai artifact deck with this card as well. Make golems, copy artifacts, and just go nuts. And if your opponent has no answer to your artifacts, like a Farewell or a Disenchant or something, or Faded History, you're just gonna run away with the game. Super cool card. I like it. It's a cool build around me card that I'm excited to try decks with. Coming number 4 is Terror of the Peaks. This is a reprint. Terror of the Peaks was a solid card when it was a standard. It's not crazy, but it is very, very powerful. So it's 5 mana, 5/4 flying. And when your opponent casts it, it basically has like Ward 3, 3 life. And then whenever another creature ETBs in control, it does damage equal to its power to anything you want. This card is super sweet with like Storm the Festival. If you can hit like 2 of them or hit it in something else. It works really well with Invasion of Tarkir, maybe like more, or just like a flat out Gruul deck, like a red green Gruul deck or a dragon deck. Terror of the Peaks is a powerful dragon that should see some play standard. Coming number 3 is going to be a staple. We've been wanting this for a long time. Scorching Hot. It's not roast, so it's a little hard to cast than roast. It costs 2 red instead of 1 red and 1 colorless. But it deals 5 damage to a creature. This is huge because we've been wanting to kill Shieldred for 2 mana, especially for red decks. And now red has that way, right? This is massive for these decks to just ignore Shieldred and just be able to kill her right away. Not have to stress about like, do I have 3 creatures to attack so I can Witchstruck or Frenzy or whatever? You can just kill her now for 2 mana, which is very relevant for these types of decks. Coming number 2, might be a little surprise, but it's actually, for me, Demonic Ruckus. It costs 2 mana, but secretly costs 1 mana, so you plot it for 1. It says enchant creature gets ++1, menace, and trample. And then when this goes to the graveyard, you draw a card. So it replaces itself, it makes a creature have trample, menace, grows it. And more importantly, it triggers prowess. There's a lot of creatures in the standard that have prowess. There's Monster Swiftspear. There's bunch of creatures that also have haste. So this one doesn't give haste. And more importantly, it's really good. It works really well with our next card. Our number 1 card for the set for red is going to be Slick Shot Show Off. So for 2 mana is a 1/2 flying haste. And then we cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+0 to end of turn. However, you can plot it for 2 mana as well. And this card, you can set up some absurd turns, like if you plot the Demonic Ruckus turn 1, plot this turn 2, turn 3, like you can play this, you can play the Ruckus, and at that point you still have 3 mana to give it more power or double its power or even protect it with a spell if you want to, like on Tamos Safekeeping or Lauren's Escape or whatever you want. I think this is super sweet. Or I guess, or like a dive down effect. I guess Tamos Safekeeping, which you'll be doing with this because you'll be playing in probably an Is It or mono red. This card is very powerful, and we were all going to die to it. a lot. This is definitely a staple in mono and the aggressive tempo decks for sure. Very powerful card that we will see a lot of. Next up is green. My favorite color personally. Coming at number 5 is going to be Colossal Rattleworm. So 4 mana, and this thing has flash if you control a desert. And surprisingly, deserts in this are relevant because deserts actually from the set deal damage to a player, and that is committing a crime. So that's very relevant. Overall, it's not a huge drawback just to play deserts, right? They're not like just come play tap lands that don't do anything. They ping the opponent, and they have 2 colors of mana. And this thing also tutors up deserts when it dies. You can pay 2 mana, search life for a desert, hit the opponent, or whatever, shuffle. So it's pretty solid. And I'm glad it's 6/5. I'm glad it has trample, because otherwise it'd be kind of sad against Shieldred. But because of that, because it does have trample and flash and all that, it's pretty impressive. I like this card a lot for the green decks. Hopefully green got some powerful cards this set. I'm hoping it makes a comeback. Coming number 4 is Outcaster Trailblazer. 3 mana for a 4/2. It says when this ETBs, add 1 mana of any color. So if you're casting this, it's not that great. But it also says whenever another creature ETBs under control, if it has 4 more power, you draw a card. So what I like about this card is you can plot it turn 3, right? And then turn 4, you can play it, and you can ramp up 1. So you can basically go to a 5-drop, like Tear the Peaks. So essentially, let's say you plot this turn 3, turn 4, you can play this, ramp, Tear the Peaks, draw a card, and go off, essentially. But it also works with other plot cards. So coming up on number 3 is going to be Railway Brawler. So this one is a plot for 4. It has reach trample to 5/5. It says whenever another creature ETBs on your control, put X counters on it. X is its power. So it's just going to grow creatures massively. It's also going to draw a card if you have the Trailblazer, the Outcast Trailblazer before it. So super solid card. It is a little more expensive. And obviously it dies to removal, but everything dies to removal. But it does have plot, and being able to plot something again and then play it later and do something else that turn, like Tame of Safekeeping or whatever, is super sweet. And I'm actually just in love with the plot mechanic. Next up is Free Strider Lookout. So Free Strider Lookout is a 3 mana for a 3/3 with reach. It says whenever you commit a crime, wow, sorry. I have a speech impediment chat, so apologize, but look at the top 5 cards of your library, you put a land card from among them, and both tapped. And keep in mind, this triggers with deserts. Deserts commit crimes, because they ping the opponent for 1. It's only triggers once every turn, but basically like turn 3 or turn 4, turn 4 you can play this, and you play desert, and you get to ramp. That's pretty good. Like, just playing this, your opponent can't react right away. You play desert, if they don't kill it, you get to ramp. In the future, you could continue ramping. So even if it just like gets 1 land out for you, ramps you once and dies, it's still pretty solid, right? I think of like the Topiary Stomper, which is a 3 mana 4/4 that gets a land, right? It can't do anything for a while, but this can get multiple lands as well. Yet you do need to play in deserts to take full effect of it, but I think there will be or can be a desert deck, right? Because we have the worm as well, so a lot of counter stuff and that matters. Coming number 1 is a Brushwag mount, which I think is hilarious. So it's an Ordinary Tumblewag. 3 mana for a 2/2. At the beginning of your turn, put a counter on target creature. So technically this could be like a 3 mana 3/3, right? Or you can grow other stuff. Seems great in a counters deck, or the Collector's Vault, the Collector's Cage we saw on white. It says whenever this thing attacks while settled, double the number of counters on target creature. That's settled 2. Keep in mind we have a bunch of like, we do have a green-white counters matters deck, but it hasn't been quite good enough yet. And that, I think the Brushwag will help. I can't remember all the names of the green-white cards that put counters, but I know like there's the one that doubles, that's 2/2 as trample. I think it's a Botanical Brawler or something like that. Green-white card. Then you have the Ozolith as well, which like puts counters and moves counters around. So, and then you also have the Railway Brawler, which puts counters on, doubles counters, and there's trample and stuff. So I think the counters deck should make a comeback. I'm hoping it does, because there needs to be a solid green deck, and I think this set really puts a lot of hefty green creatures into play. All right, coming up at number 5. Sorry. Coming up next is the multicolor cards. And number 5 is going to be Rakdos Joins Up. The legendary enchantment, the 5 mana enchantment. When it comes into play, you get your animated creature from your graveyard. If it's legendary, it comes to play with 2 counters on it. And then it says, whenever legendary creature you control dies, Rakdos deals damage equal to its power. So bring back on Traxa, it's going to be like a 9/9. And then if they kill a Traxa with Go for Throat, you get to hit them for 9, which is like essentially half their life, right? So not only do you get to like have a huge creature, if they answer it with a removal spell, you can just dome them for 9. I've seen things like Objects of Cruelty, and I think Rakdos Joins Up is super sweet in that regard for these types of decks. If you're playing like even if you're playing a Legends deck, playing like one of these for Wraths is pretty great. We gotta keep in mind though, maybe not great in Legends, because you probably won't want to reanimate Atraxa, and otherwise because you're probably getting Sunfalled. But if Atraxa gets Sunfalled, at the very least you've drawn a few cards, right? So this is just a great card to reanimate essentially your Atraxa or some big legend creature. So number 4 is gonna be Honest Rustine. 3 mana for a 3/2 creature. Comes in play, you get to return a creature card from graveyard to your hand. So basically you get to Gravedigger. And then it says creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That's super sweet because it's a ramp creature, right? It's like a mana creature that makes all your other creature spells cost 1 less. It regrows a creature, which is card advantage. It looks very simple. It doesn't have a lot of text, but I don't think that matters. Like what it's doing is powerful. It's regrowing something, and also on top of that, it is making your spells cost less. So it's not fancy, but it doesn't need to be. It's honest, and it's pretty dang good, I think. Especially for decks that grind, which Golgari grinds, right? Golgari is known for grinding, so solid card for a Golgari deck. Number 3 is going to be Malcolm the Eyes. Go for the eyes, boo. 2 mana, 2/2 Flying Haste. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, investigate. Just the flat side of 2 mana, 2/2 Flying Haste is a pirate, which means it's outlaw. It's just solid, right? And if you're doubling up on spells, you get to investigate. So you can either use those tokens to ensoul them, like make them creatures if you want with other cards, or you can just draw cards. I think Malcolm is just very solid at doing that. And there's also a theme of if you cast 2 spells in a turn, you can do something. And Malcolm again fits that theme, but you don't need it necessarily. Like a 2 mana 2/2 Flying Haste on curve is solid, and then on top of that, you can just you can start getting advantage of it. Coming in number 2 is gonna be my favorite card in this set. So maybe I've ranked it slightly higher than it should be, but this card is very powerful though. So Make Your Own Luck. Make Your Own Luck is a sorcery. It says Simic sorcery, costs 5 mana. Uncommon, by the way. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. So you look at 3 cards, you may exile a non-land card from among them. If you do, it becomes plotted. Put the rest into your hand. So basically, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, pick one of them, and you plot it so that you can play it next turn or a future turn for free, for 0 mana, mind you. And the other 2 cards go to your hand. It's so powerful. Like, you can plot like Atraxa or Titan of Ministry or even Wraths, or you can plot another Make Your Own Luck, whatever. And then the other cards go to your hand, but you don't even draw them. So it plays around Shielded as well. Obviously, you need to like have a like a window, like shields go down for a turn, but you get to draw cards, and then next turn, hopefully you get the temple back. Especially if you exile like a Sunfall or something, right? You just gotta make sure not to die. Not to die, but this card is sweet and it's so fun to play. Definitely my favorite card in the set. It's just so cool, and it can be anything, you know. So yeah, coming number 1 is going to be Laughing Jasper Flint, a lizard rogue, 3 mana for a 4/3. And it says creatures you control but don't own are mercenaries, basically outlaws. It's the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top X card of target opponent's library, or X number of outlaws you control. On your turn, you may cast those spells. You may spend mana of any color to cast those spells. So for 3 mana, you have 4/3 creature. Your opponent has to kill. Otherwise, it's going to start drawing cards off their deck. Super solid. This is like a aggressive Dark Confidant for the opponent. You can exile more than 1 card. Cipher Insight is solid. This creature is a creature that's gonna with good stats, mind you, for 3 mana. That's going to draw cards and attack. fantastic card in these decks, and any aggressive mid-range whatever deck. It's very solid. All right, coming in next, we're just talking about some of the lands. I won't talk about too much, but like, so we obviously go with enemy fast lands like Botanical Sanctum, very solid cards. We got the deserts, which trigger crimes, which I think is great for the green decks that are trying to get lands or whatever. And then I'll say one of the second best cards is probably for Mori Vault. It's an artifact. It's not an artifact. It's a land. Taps colorless mana. You can pay 3 mana, discard a card. Look the top X cards of your library. Write some artifacts. X number of artifacts you control. Put one of them into your hand. What's important is like you would think this would get artifacts, but it doesn't. It gets whatever you want. So you can pay 3 mana, anytime 2, no sorcery speed, and then basically like impulse or dig really deep for something and put in your hand. Love this card. Again, I think artifacts is going to be a deck. There's so many good blue artifacts in general, so I think this is a solid card in those decks for sure. Another card I think we should not sleep on, I think is very powerful, is Tarnation Vista. So Tarnation Vista, ETBs tapped, and when ETBs you choose a color. Adds one mana of chosen color. So it's kind of slow. That's okay. It's also not legendary. And it says tap it and 1 mana, and you add for each color mono colored permanent you control, add 1 mana of that color. So this may seem like kind of weird or not that great, but I think there's going to be a deck. Any land that adds more than 1 mana is going to be good, honestly. But we need ways to play monocolored things that will turn this on. So things like experimental synthesizer in red is a great monocolored one. We have the blue cloak, the one that cloaks cards off top of your deck, which is great. I'm sure you find a green one, a black one. There's like you can play Time Bones joins up. But I think it's important to play ones that are harder to deal with, like not basically not creatures. If you play like permanents, enchantments, whatever, they're harder to deal with. It's gonna make this thing add a buttload of mana. So it's in your mana dump could be something like Cryptic Cloak, Coat. Again, the one that disguises off top of your deck. So if you have a bunch of mana floating around, you can just keep using the Tarnation Vista. All right, I think that's it for us. But I will say this set is super sweet, it's super powerful. One of the strongest sets we've seen standard. Very hyped about it. Not only for standard, like this is for standard, but also for we play arena. There's the timeless, right? We get mana drain, reanimate, surgical extraction, like Path to Exile. We got a bunch of cool cards. So super hyped for this set. So yeah, if you're gonna buy any of these cards, you can use code Ollie5, save 5% off your entire order. Helps you, helps me, helps Cool Stuff. And come watch live sometime over twitch.tv/OllieOldRozzy. And you can see some of these cards in action over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/OllieOldRozzy, or Cool Stuff YouTube, or CoolStuffInc as well. I made some videos with these new cards during early access. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all. I'll catch you next time. Peace.